In Algebra 1, section 8.4, we're dealing with division of properties of exponents. Alright, so you did the multiplication properties, which were the 3 rules, and then last section for 8.2, we did the 0, anything to the power of 0 is 1, and then the last one is negative exponents, which means you just have to put it on the other side of the fraction. And then if there's not a fraction, you create one using 1. Now we're going to skip 8.3 and we're going to go straight to 8.4, which is division property of exponents. Now, this only has 2 rules for you. And basically, this one is saying, okay, that you have a to the m. If you have 2 with the same basis, now remember when I multiplied two exponents with the same basis, I added them. When I divided, I do the opposite. Instead of adding, I'm going to subtract, okay? So when I take this and they have the same base, a m to the power of m and a to the power of n, okay, I take m and n and I subtract it, but they have one base. So these become one base and I take the exponent from the top and I subtract it from the bottom, okay? Now in the multiplication rule, it doesn't matter which order. In this one it does. It's the top subtracts from the bottom. The next one is if I have an m with a division, it's the same thing as if I have if I have an exponent with multiplication. I take it and I distribute it to each term. So it becomes a to the m and then b to the m. See, it's distributed to both terms. M gets distributed here, and this gets distributed here, which gives me that. Alright? What that means is, if I have 5 to the 4, that means I have 4 5s that are being multiplied together. Okay, sorry, I have 5 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the bottom, I have 4 thirds. 3 fourths. Sorry. And then that means I have 1, 2, 3 fourths. So that means every 4 will cancel out to become 1. So I have this cancels out with this cancels out with this cancels out with this, and I end up with 4 times 4, which is 16. It'd be the same thing if I did 5 minus 3, which was 4 squared, right? Which gives me 16. Right? So all you have to remember is when you're dividing, so you don't have to go through this whole process right here, you go from here straight to here, is you do top minus bottom, the exponents, to become one base. So 5 minus 3 is 2, giving me 16. Right? So let's try this one. The next one is a little bit tricky in the sense that if I have x to the 4th, right, it becomes x to the 4th divided by x to the 7th, it becomes one base, and I take the top and divide it by 7. Well, this gives me a negative 3. Okay? Now remember in the last section what we do with the negative. This is the same thing as saying 1 over x cubed. Now when you simplify, you don't want to end up with any negatives, so that's my final answer. 1 over x cubed. So x to the negative 3 is the same thing as 1 over x to the 3rd. Because remember, once I put it where it belongs, the negative no longer needs to be there. Alright? So let's try this one. Now there's this negative out there, but it's not in the parentheses, and the order of operations states that we focus on the parentheses first. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this 2, distribute it to the 4, and then distribute it to the x. And I'm going to keep that negative out here. So I end up with 4 squared over x squared. Okay? This gives me negative 16 over x squared. Because they don't have anything in common, I can't simplify further. Therefore, that's my answer, negative 16 over x squared. Alright? Let's try another one. This one's a little longer, a little bit more complicated. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and combine all terms on top. So 3 times 12, the like terms. So I'm not going to do any division, I'm just going to focus on like terms. So 3 times 12 is 36. X cubed and x squared, remember when I am multiplying with the same base, what do I do with the exponents? I add them. So it becomes x 3 plus 2, and y to the 1 and y squared, because y 1 plus 2, which gives me on the bottom, because there's no like terms, just 4 x, y cubed. Okay? This gives me 36 x to the 5th, y to the 3rd over 4x, y cubed. Now, what I'm going to do here, okay, is I'm going to separate. I'm going to separate each term. 36 divided by 4 times x to the 5th over x times y to the 3rd over y to the 3rd. Now remember when I did this in class in the first section. I separate so that I can focus on each one and then simplify, making it easier for me to see each term individually. So I'm going to do 36 divided by 4. Okay, so this gives me 9 times x to the 5th and 1. Now when I divide it with the same base, I'm going to subtract. So I end up with x, 5 minus 1, and then with y, 3 minus 3. Well, the 9 keeps down, and 5 minus 1 is x to the 4th. 3 minus 3 is 0, so that means y to the power of 0 is the same thing as saying just 1, and 1 times 9 is 9. So my answer is 9x to the 4th, because this cancels out. Right? So, go ahead and try page 465, number 6, 9, and 18. 465, number 6, 9, and 18, and I will see you in class.